Nia stepped into the boutique with quiet confidence. She wore a simple beige coat, clean white sneakers, no jewelry, no designer bag, just presence. The store smelled like perfume and pride, polished marble floors, soft jazz floating through the air. Mannequins posed like they had secrets. She wasn't there to make a statement. She just needed a suit, something powerful, clean, elegant. She had a keynote to deliver in 72 hours, her first in front of a Fortune 500 crowd, and while she built her company in sweatpants and late-night coffees, she knew what the world expected to see when a black woman walked on stage. A white sales associate spotted her from across the room. Mid-30s, platinum blonde bob, name tag, Karen. Her heels clicked as she approached, smile tight, eyes scanning Nia. From head to toe, judging, calculating, can I help you? Not friendly, not warm, just permission-based. Nia smiled politely. Yes, I'm looking for a business suit. Dark tones, modern cut. Karen tilted her head. Those are on the premium rack. Perfect. Nia nodded. Could you show me? Karen didn't move. Actually, are you shopping for someone else? Nia blinked. No, for me. Karen folded her arms. We don't do price adjustments, and we don't hold items. Nia stayed calm. I didn't ask for either. Karen's voice dropped slightly, but her words cut like glass. Look, we've had issues lately. People coming in just to take photos, touching merchandise they have no intention of buying. Nia raised an eyebrow. You think I came in here to take pictures? Karen shrugged. You people usually do. The air changed, the music kept playing. But everything else had paused. Nia took one step back, then asked, soft, direct. I'd like to speak to your manager. Karen didn't blink. I am the manager. She turned toward the front. Security, can you escort someone out? No purchase. Just browsing. A uniformed man appeared seconds later. Nia stood still. Didn't argue, didn't raise her voice. She looked at Karen, then said, Thank you. You've shown me everything I needed to see. And with that, she walked out, into the cold. Without a suit, without a receipt, but with a fire she hadn't felt in years. Music shifts, low strings rumbling beneath a soft building beat. Voiceover whisper. They thought they were closing a door, but they just opened the wrong one. Nia didn't go home angry. She didn't cry in her car. She didn't call her friends to vent. Instead, she went straight to her office, flipped on the lights, opened her laptop, and began typing. Because what that woman, Karen, didn't know was that the customer in sneakers was actually the founder of one of the fastest-growing tech startups on the East Coast. Investor-backed, nationally recognized, and profitable. Very profitable. Nia wasn't new to disrespect. She'd been talked over, in meetings, followed around in stores, underestimated in boardrooms. But she never fought back with volume. She fought with strategy. She poured herself a cup of tea, opened a browser tab, searched. Boutique retail chains for sale. Distressed, she scrolled, paused. There it was. Lavare. Studios, Inc., her parent company of 5 boutique locations, including the exact store she was kicked out of. Status, in negotiation with private buyer. Nia smiled. She made 2 calls. First, to her attorney. Second, to her financial advisor. I want to make an offer quietly through a shell entity, and I want controlling interest, not just shares. They asked why. She said, because they kicked the wrong woman out of the wrong store, and now, I'd like to own it. The next morning, while Karen brewed her overpriced coffee and restocked scarves no one asked for, Nia was in a glass office across town, reviewing balance sheets and lease agreements. This wasn't revenge. This was alignment. She didn't want to embarrass Karen. She wanted to transform the space that tried to erase her. Within 10 days, the paperwork was ready. Nia signed under her holding company, Omari Holdings LLC, named after her late father. She didn't smile when she signed. She focused, because this wasn't about power. It was about presence. The final clause? Full operational. Control effective immediately. Music begins to pulse. Soft, deliberate, confident. Voiceover whisper. They thought she didn't belong in the store, so she bought the whole name on the lease. The ink had dried, the lawyers had shaken hands, the wire transfers were complete. The deal was sealed. Nia owned the boutique. Not just the location that kicked her out, but the entire brand. No press release, no announcement, no social media. Flex. She didn't need the world to know. Not yet, but inside her chest, there was a quiet thunder. Nia stepped out of her office and walked down the hall. Her team, mostly women of color, paused and looked up. They already knew. The deal had closed. She nodded once. We're taking over operations next week. They smiled. Some fist-bumped. One whispered, Karen has no idea what's coming. Nia smiled back. That's the point. 3 days later, she visited the boutique as the new owner. Not in heels, not in pearls, not in vengeance, but in command. Wore a sleek black suit, hair in a low bun, no jewelry, just a matte black folder in one hand. She walked in. To the same scent of overpriced perfume, the same soft jazz, the same marble floors. But now, she was the one paying the lease. Karen didn't recognize her at first. She stood near the front counter, gossiping with another associate, until she noticed the woman walking with the manager who looked pale, nervous, like she'd seen a ghost holding paperwork. Karen, the manager said, you should come here, there's someone you need to meet. Karen approached, still chewing gum. Her smile was fake as always. Hi, can I help? She froze. Her eyes widened. The gum nearly dropped from her mouth. Wait, you're Nia. Extended her hand. Nia Sinclair, new owner of La Vare Studios. Technically, your boss. Karen blinked, swallowed, tried to recover. I didn't recognize you. You look different. Nia's voice was calm. That's funny. I recognized. You just fine. The staff nearby went quiet. The jazz music felt too loud. The moment was sharp, uncomfortable, but perfect. Music cuts to a low, clean drop. Cinematic, cold, composed, voice over whisper. She didn't raise her voice. She raised the entire standard. Karen stood frozen, eyes wide, posture stiff, the gum now discreetly tucked into her cheek like she was trying to swallow the moment. I didn't know, she stammered. Nia tilted her head, calm and surgical. Didn't know what? Karen blinked. Didn't know you were important. The words landed like a confession and an insult all at once. Nia didn't react. She didn't have to. You thought I wasn't worth serving, Nia said softly, because I didn't look like what you expected, because I didn't announce who I was, because I walked in without needing to prove I belonged. Karen looked down. It was a mistake. Nia nodded. Yes, and that's why I'm here. Not just to correct it, but to correct the culture that created it. She turned to the staff now, a group of women, some young, some older, all watching with careful eyes. Let me be clear, Nia said, her voice rising just enough to fill the space. This store no longer runs on image. It runs on integrity. We don't judge people based on clothes, tone, or credit card brands. We welcome. We uplift. We listen. A young black woman standing near the fitting rooms blinked fast, like she was holding back tears. Nia locked eyes with her, then added, and if anyone here finds that too difficult to adjust to. She turned back to Karen. You're free to leave immediately. Silence. Then the manager cleared her throat. Karen, I'll need your keys. Karen's mouth opened, then closed. There was no scene, no screaming, just slow steps as she walked toward the back. Gone. A moment passed, then applause. Soft at first, then real. Not because someone was fired, but because something was finally made. Right, Nia turned back to the team. Let's get to work. Music builds, elegant strings and piano. The sound of power being reclaimed without violence, only presence. Voice-over whisper. She didn't come back to get even. She came back to make things better. By the next morning, the boutique felt different. Not because the walls were painted, not because the music had changed, but because the air was lighter. For the first time in years, the employees weren't just clocking in. They were showing up. Nia didn't just sit in the back office with spreadsheets and titles. She walked the floor, asked questions, listened. She wanted to know what customers were actually looking for, what the team needed to do their best work, and what had been silently tolerated under the old management. One young employee, Tasha, only 22, pulled her aside in the break room. "Ms. Sinclair," she said nervously, "I just want to say thank you. I've been here 8 months. Karen never once asked my name." Nia smiled gently. "Well, Tasha, you matter here now. Get used to it." The store's transformation didn't come from money. It came from respect. The shelves were reorganized, inclusive sizes brought in. Designs from Black and minority-owned brands were featured front and center. One corner of the store was reimagined, completely, now called the Mirror Room, a place where customers could try on pieces in front of a wall of affirmations, not price tags, not judgments, but words like, "You are worth this. You are not invisible. You deserve to be here." Customers began to notice. One woman cried while trying on a jacket. Another took a photo in the mirror and captioned it, "First time I've felt welcome in a luxury store." Sales went up, but more importantly, so did trust. Nia sat at the front window that evening watching the city breathe. A little girl walked past with her mom. Stopped, peeked in. "Can I go inside?" she asked. The mom hesitated. Places like this had always made her nervous. Then she saw the sign on the window. "This store is owned and run by women who know what it feels like to be looked through," and decided to look up instead. She smiled. "Yes, baby. Let's go in." Music rises. Warm, empowering, full of promise. Voiceover whisper. She didn't just take back the room. She opened it for every woman who had ever been pushed out. By the end of the week, someone posted the clip. It was security footage from that day, the day Karen kicked Nia out. The audio was clear. The words rang sharp. "You people don't shop here." Then the cut to present-day Nia, standing in the same store announcing her ownership. It went viral, the fast to 1 million views. Then 5, then 10. Hashtags exploded. She came back. Jacques Black-owned power. Luxury. Without Prejudice, news outlets started calling. Podcasts requested interviews. TV networks pitched. Feature stories. But Nia stayed quiet. She didn't run to the spotlight. She let the story speak for itself. Because this was never about going viral. It was about reversing the narrative. Still, the emails flooded in. From women who had been followed in stores. From Black-owned businesses asking to collaborate. From schools requesting to have her come speak. And from one woman, Karen. The email subject, "I'm sorry. No long message, just 3 lines. I judged you. I was wrong. You didn't deserve that." Nia stared at the screen. She didn't feel joy or pity or anger. She just felt peace. She didn't reply. She didn't have to. Some things don't need closure. They need evolution. That same day, Nia hosted the store's first community event, a "Come As You Are" night. No dress code. No purchase necessary. Just music, conversation, and mirrors everywhere. A teenager walked in wearing a thrifted hoodie. Looked nervous. Picked up a necklace. Checked the tag. Set it back down. Nia approached her. "Do you like it?" The girl nodded. "It's beautiful. I just don't think it's for someone like me." Nia smiled. Took the necklace off the rack. Placed it gently in the girl's hand. "It is now." Music shifts to soft soul. Reflective, real, rooted in truth. Voiceover. Whisper. She didn't come to prove herself. She came to remind every woman, you were already enough. A month after the takeover, Lavare Studios was no longer just another boutique. It had become a symbol, not of luxury, but of belonging. People came from other cities just to visit, not to buy, but to feel what it was like to be welcomed without judgment. Nia sat down for her first public interview with a journalist from a major magazine. The reporter, a white woman in her 50s, asked, "What made you come back to the same store that humiliated you?" Nia paused, then answered simply, "Because if I didn't, they would have won twice, once by kicking me out, and once by making sure I never walked back in." The quote went viral. Again, printed on tote bags, posted on billboards, turned into tattoos, but Nia stayed steady because she knew viral moments come and go. Legacy is what stays. The store began mentoring high school girls from underrepresented communities. Once a month, they visited, tried on suits, practiced interviews, wrote down dreams on sticky notes, and pasted them to the wall of worth. One day, a girl named Imani, age 15, pulled Nia aside. "Ms. Sinclair, I used to think this world wasn't made for people like me." Nia knelt to meet her eyes. "That's because it wasn't. But we're not waiting to be invited anymore. We're building the rooms now, and you, my dear, are already the blueprint." Imani smiled, for the first time that day, and the light in her eyes was brighter than anything on the sales floor. A few employees stood nearby, listening. One wiped a tear. Another whispered, "She's not just a boss, she's a builder." Music swells with soft orchestration, a steady, warm crescendo. Voiceover whisper, "She didn't rewrite the rules, she rewrote what was possible." One Thursday afternoon, Nia received an unexpected email. Subject line, "Feature Opportunity, National Fashion and Culture Awards." She opened it slowly. The committee was nominating her for Retail Innovator of the Year. The same committee that once ignored her pitches, the same industry that never saw her as luxury enough. Now they were reaching out. Nia smiled, but not from pride, from clarity. Now they see me. But she didn't rush to respond. Instead, she called her team into the office. "Do we want this?" she asked. Not, "Can I have this?" "Do we want this?" Because for her, leadership was shared. If they voted yes, she'd accept. If not, she'd pass. Unanimous answer, "Take it." But take us with you. A month later, she stood on stage in Los Angeles. The lights hot, the room glittering with designer names and legacy brands, the same kinds of people who once locked her out, now applauding. She took the mic, held it for a beat, then said, "I'm not here to impress anyone. I'm here to remind you that access doesn't equal empathy. I didn't come through the front door of this industry, got shoved out the back, and I circled the building until I found a way in." Applause, some real, some polite, but the words, unmistakable. Afterward, a well-known CEO approached her. "Your store is doing incredible things. Would you consider a partnership?" Nia shook her head, smiled. "I appreciate that, but I'm not building to blend in. I'm building to stand out." Back home, the boutique was buzzing. Customers left notes in the wall of worth. Young girls brought in their moms. Mothers brought in their grandmothers. 3 generations of women walking into a place they were once told wasn't for them. A new employee asked, "Ms. Sinclair, how did you stay so calm?" "When they tried to humiliate you," Nia turned, looked her in the eye. "Because I already knew who I was. And the moment you really know that, nothing anyone says can shrink you again." Music builds, strong, rhythmic, powerful, but never. Voiceover whisper. They saw her as less, but she made herself unforgettable. Nia unlocked the store early that morning. She liked to be the first one in. The silence before the day began, that was her reset. She walked past the mannequins, ran her fingers along the glass counters, paused at the wall of worth. A new note had been added overnight. "My daughter asked me what power looks like. I told her to look in the mirror." Nia smiled, folded the note, placed it inside a small black box, a growing archive of reminders, a knock at the front window. It was Monica, a former employee, one of the few who'd stayed quiet when Karen kicked Nia out. She looked nervous. Nia opened the door. "Hi," Monica said, eyes down. "I don't expect anything, I wanted to say I'm sorry, I should have spoken up that day." Nia paused, then nodded. "Thank you for saying that." She opened the door wider. "You want to come in?" Monica looked shocked. "You'd let me back?" Nia shrugged with a half-smile. "Everyone's allowed to evolve. The real question is, are you willing to help someone else feel welcome before they have to ask for it?" Monica stepped inside, for the first time, not just as staff, but as someone willing to be accountable. Later that day, Nia received a package, no return. Label inside was a velvet box and a note. For the woman who reminded the world that style means nothing without soul. From someone who learned that too late. Inside the box, a brooch, vintage, minimalist, beautiful. She pinned it to her lapel, not to show off, but to remind herself that sometimes the very people who shut the door on you can't. Forget the sound it made when you walked through anyway. That evening, a customer walked in, older woman, gray streaks in her hair, walking slowly. She looked around, eyes glassy, then whispered, "Is the owner here?" Nia stepped forward. "Yes, ma'am. That's me." The woman smiled. "I've waited a long time to see someone like you in a place like this." Nia nodded. No speeches, just understanding. Music rises, soft soul-infused strings and piano. Voice-over whisper. Full circle doesn't mean the story is over. Sometimes it's where the real one begins. It was Sunday. Quiet. Peaceful. A little girl stood outside the boutique holding her grandmother's hand. Her hair was in braids, her shoes shiny and new. She looked up at the store. "Nana, can we go in?" The grandmother hesitated. She looked at the sign, the polished glass, the way the mannequin stood, strong, stylish, unapologetic. And then she nodded. "Yes, baby. You belong in there." Nia watched them from the counter, smiled, walked over to greet them. She knelt in front of the girl. "Welcome," the girl whispered. "Is this your store?" Nia nodded. "Yes, but today, it's yours too." They walked through the space together, touched fabrics, laughed softly, tried on scarves, took a picture in the mirror room. In the reflection you could see it all, the grandmother's pride, the little girl's joy, and Nia, standing behind them, smiling. Later, after they left, Nia sat by the front window, sipped tea, watched the street, watched how women of all shades, all shapes, all styles, came in now without hesitation, not to prove themselves, but to be themselves. A staff member approached quietly. "Ms. Sinclair, we just got our monthly numbers. Sales are up 28%, foot traffic doubled, and returns?" Nia raised an eyebrow. The staffer grinned. "Almost none, because when people feel seen, they don't return what affirms them." Nia laughed gently, looked out the window again, then whispered to herself, "This was never about clothes, this was about showing up and staying." On the boutique wall behind the register hung a new sign. This store was built by the woman they tried to remove, so every woman would know she never has to leave. Final music swells, warm, cinematic, full of soul and sunlight. Voiceover. Whisper, closing line. They tried to push her out. She came back and built the place every woman could walk into, and never doubt she belonged. Fade out.